cool Tinkerbox. Oh, and it looks like we're starting here as Theo is playing Jeskai Delver on the other deck, casting a Ponder.
Yep, and then we got Theo on the other side, who we did see on camera a couple rounds prior, the Jeskai Delver deck with the Forth Eorlingas. I still don't know how to pronounce the name of that card, but it is pretty sweet, and I really hope we get to see it being cast here.
I hope so too. That way I can try my hand at pronunciating it.
You did a pretty good job yesterday with the Asmo pronunciation, which I still, as much Asmo as I have played, I still cannot pronounce the full name of that card.
Oh, Asmarina Marca Desco Lulucar?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, yeah. I call her Asmo. She and I, we're on a first name basis, as we are going to see Ignoble Hierarch get dazed here.
Yeah, pretty powerful play from Theo. Usually, if the Mana Dork does resolve, your days gets a little bit worse. So really happy to fire that one off. So there's actually, I believe, a slight mistake on the records. I believe Theo is X01, got paired down into the X1, and we're kind of under the assumption that that's why these players did not draw, because Theo getting paired down, Wynne cannot afford to draw. So just bear that in mind.
Yep. So you're going to see a draw for turn here and a fetch.
Which fetch is that?
Oh, that's Windswept Heath.
And that was a layup. I gave you that one.
Yeah, he gave me that one. Ooh, yeah, the color scheme on that one is very green-white.
Beautiful forest here from Wynne, and I believe that is an Allosaur Shepherd.
Ooh, that's Ignoble Hierarch, I'm pretty sure. Sorry, Noble, not Ignoble. I misspoke there. Sorry.
It's Noble Hierarch. Okay, I know there is a promo version of Allosaur Shepherd, so I wasn't sure exactly which one that was, but yeah, I do recall there being a promo Noble Hierarch as well.
Yeah.
Too many arts nowadays, Mason.
Are you trying to art gatekeep Devin on stream?
I would never. Come on.
Sounds like, you know what, chat, you let us know when the chat you think Devin's trying to art gatekeep, as we are going to see a DRC into a Mishra's Bauble, Surveil, and then take the top Luxkipu as a Green Sun Zenith is on top of Wayne's deck.
Yeah, so now we did a lot of joking about the Golgari control decks. Now, Green Sun Zenith, very powerful. There's a lot of one-ups here, including an Atraxigrad Unifier. We're quite a ways away from that, along with the Crater Hoof. But as far as value targets are concerned, there is an Allosaurus Shepherd, a Collector Oof, not great in this matchup, an Endurance, some more Mana Dorks, and then also a Fiend Artisan and Elvish Reclaimer. Those are kind of like the 4-ofs that we have, and those are the ones that really get the engine started. Reclaimer can go ahead and find Gaia's Cradle, giving you access to more mana, can eventually maybe cast one of those fatties, and Fiend Artisan just allows you to get a little bit more flexibility and utility as well.
Yeah, Theo with 3 Dazes in hand is ready to go at anything that gets cast.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward though. There's a Zenith on top, and we just went over the deck list. There's not a ton of 2s that Wynne would want to go Green Sun X equals 2, except for Fiend Artisan. So it looks like that's going to be we're going to go for Grist, actually. Well,
Grist.
Theo will happily daze that.
Yeah. And if you're Theo's opponent, you're like, well, next turn my 3-drop will surely resolve.
Well, you say that, but Wynne could have land 4, so you could go maybe land 4, Zenith for 2, pay for the Daze. And yeah, there's that is kind of the way to beat Daze, is just make all of your land drops. Typically, Theo's deck does sport 4 copies of Wasteland, but does not have any here to be able to kind of pick off the mana acceleration from Wynne.
100%. As this looks like we're taking a moment to think through our turn.
There's a Cradle, very fancy Cradle.
Yeah. Look at some nice altars going on here from Wynne.
And Wynne is just going to pass. Now, that's kind of throwing off alarm bells here for Theo, because Theo is aware of the Green Sun Zenith. So very likely something like an Endurance here is going to be cast. And there it is.
Yep. And Theo didn't have the land to play to Daze there. So looks like the graveyard is going to go away, and we're probably going to see a chump block there. Yeah, I see Theo shaking his head.
So I think Theo might have actually had a land, but just maybe a slight misstep. Yeah, we see the kind of the post-combat land. Very unfortunate there for Theo. Shake of the head. It's mistakes happen from time to time. You just got to learn to shake them off. And Theo's a very good player. Would not be surprised to see him get back in this game.
Yeah, Theo, no stranger to our top 8s, both Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy. Has a couple Legacy wins under his belt. So you see Bajuka Bog. Okay, no graveyard for sure for Theo.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I wonder if the Bajuka Bog was in hand last turn for Wynne, but decided to play an untapped land instead to guarantee that we can resolve that endurance through a Daze. So something along those lines, because Theo did cast a Daze earlier. Wynne is aware of that card. Theo's really going to look for maybe some cantrips to find another threat. With an empty graveyard, can't look at something like a Murktide Regent, so that's kind of off the table right now. And here we go. Ponder in response, Orcish Bowmasters.
Ping! Theo's going to take one from the ETB, one from the card drawn off Ponder here. And that Orcish Bowmaster is kind of free with Gaia's Cradle in play. That's 2 bodies for 2 mana. We just had to, turn their black mana into green mana.
Yeah, fortunately for Theo, not quite a Brainstorm, so not gonna take roughly 10,000 damage off the Bowmasters. But yeah, like you said, the Bowmaster is making 2 bodies. Now Wynne's gonna have access to so much mana on his next turn, where you can go, the Cradle taps for 4 plus 3 other lands in the Hierarch. That's 8 mana that can go ahead and just hard cast Greater Hoof Behemoth.
Yep. Yeah, and Wynne saying, announcing like, hey, I didn't shortcut this. Here you go, take your 1. And you have Swords to Plowshares in the hand for Theo. Thinking about if he wants to, fetch up a Tundra and do anything beforehand, decides not to.
Yeah, gonna go ahead and save the plow. Maybe looking at plowing something like the Endurance. Maybe he wants to go after the Bowmaster if Theo has some more additional cantrips in his hand that he wants to fire off. Because you definitely want to get the Bowmasters off the table before another cantrip is cast. And this is going to be a once upon a time.
Yeah. Paying full retail on that one. Looking to try and find something to cast.
Yeah, maybe looking for, like the 4 ofs, the Reclaimer, the Fiend Artisan. I mean, even something like an Allosaurus Shepherd that would kind of play around Force of Will. We'll see what Wynne picks up here. Looks like that's going to be a Fiend Artisan.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can find second Cradle and actually Green Sun for Atraxa, which would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, Atraxa, for as many words as it has on the card, it is a green creature.
Yeah. I'm going to say a Cradle activation for 5 mana. And we're going to play second Cradle. We had it in hand.
Didn't need the second Cradle. That's 10. That is, as you said, Green Sun for Atraxa. Actually, this is lethal with Greater Hoof.
Oh, yeah, it is lethal with Greater Hoof. Probably going to be that. But one left in the pool either way. And I think Theo's going to double Daze this Green Sun. So maybe, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe he's going to do something different. But I think there's enough mana left that he can only pay for one of the Dazes.
Yeah, because Cradle was for 10. If that Zenith is for the expected amount of 8, that would leave 1 mana. Theo can hardcast Daze, Wynne will pay, and then Theo can alternate cast the other Daze. So, Theo maybe kicking himself for making that slight mishap earlier in the game where we didn't play the land pre-combat, but getting a little rewarded here.
Yeah. Looks like he's just double checking. Theo might also not know about Crater Hoof being in the deck, although I think it's a fair assumption. Like, Wynne's trying to, talk about putting the dice on it. Yeah, to try and make it easier. Now we know it's a 3/3. Doesn't actually have counters on it, so don't worry about that. Daze, he's going to pay the 1. And I had 4th Daze, says Theo. Pick up the Tundra.
Still had all days.
And we are
making an attack for 6. Hey, I tried, Mason. All right, I tried. Not as funny as you, but I try.
No, that was a good one. I was chuckling. I was just trying to get the attack for 6 in there. We are going to see a Swords to Plowshare go after the Fiend Artisan, putting Wynne back up to 17. Murktide.
That's a pretty good swing. All right, kill your best threat, play a Murktide. Is at the mercy of the top of Wynne's deck. Wynne has a lot of bangers. Could find something like a Natural Order or another Green Sun Zenith. Could also just hard cast the Greater Hoof Behemoth. Although I think we're a little short. No, we have exactly enough. We would have 8 mana. So yeah, really looking for one of those haymakers there.
Yeah, and you see him thinking. So it's some spell, and it looks like we are going to offer the trade here. Put Theo down to 3. Dryad Arbor, all right, and a passing of the turn. And so this was an Orcish.
Is that the version of Dryad Arbor that you would prefer, Mason?
So I actually own one of each Dryad Arbor, so I think all the Dryad Arbors are valid. But yeah, I don't know. I think that one's fine as long as you don't have the forest that matches. I think it's okay. Yeah.
All right. I see what you're saying. Yeah, you got to find the forest that is like the closest to that art and just play both of them.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
And
there's a Natural Order.
Yeah, and it looks to resolve. And I imagine we're going to see Crater Hoof trigger Anthony.
That is correct.
And yeah, so you're going to pick up his cards, and we're going to head on over to game number 2 here. Wynne up one in pretty impressive fashion there. We had a small misstep there from Theo, but it ended up actually working out not the worst for him there. So, who's to say exactly how that went? Let's see if we can look at Theo's sideboard and see what he might be bringing in here for game number 2. We have 2 Pyroblast, 2 Hydroblast, 2 Meltdown, 2 Circular Extraction, 2 Force Negation, 2 Swords of Plowshares, a Grafdigger's Cage, a Weird Tear, and a Red Elemental Blast. Devin, if you're Theo, what do you like here?
Give me the Grafdigger's Cage. Theo saw both Natural Order and Green Sun Zenith, so that one's kind of a slam dunk. You could look at something like Force of Negation for similar reasons, although past the Zenith and the Natural Order, there is not a ton of good targets in Wynne's deck list. The Swords to Plowshares, you can kill the early mana creatures, definitely want those. And past that, there's not really anything else.
Seems reasonable. Let's take a look at Wynne's sideboard, see what we're going to be bringing in here for game number 2. We have 4 Thoughtseize, 3 Endurance, 3 Force of Vigor, a Gaia's Blessing, a Karakas, a Masked Vandal, a Mesmeric Fiend, and a Plague Engineer. Devin, what do you like out of this sideboard?
I just wanted to say shout out to Mesmeric Fiend. Love that card. But as far as this particular matchup, definitely want to go towards the Endurances. Very good at fighting. We saw that game, how good the Resolved Endurance was at kind of swallowing up the Dragon's Rage Channeler. And not only does it get the Channeler, but it also gets the Graveyard to, stop Theo from being able to cast a Murktide Regent on follow-up. You could maybe look towards something like Thoughtseize to help fight over Force of Will and Daze, although on the draw, I don't know, that's kind of close. That one I'm not 100% sure on. And then past that, there's, this isn't really a Mesmeric Fiend matchup. There's a lot of spot removal on Theo's side of things. So I think, yeah, just the Endurances and maybe the Thoughtseizes.
I like it. And yeah, how do you feel about this Jeskai Delver deck so far? The Forth Eorlingas, the red white X spell, sort of the reason we're going into Jeskai. How do you think of this is playing into the Delver deck?
Isn't Eorlingas like the Irish Airlines? But anyways, I like that card quite a bit. I do think that it is, it's an additional threat for Theo. It's also very nice that it scales, so you can just cast it. Like if you go turn 1 Delver, turn 2, you can actually just cast it for 0 just to take the Monarch, especially backed up like the permission like Daze and Force of Will. And then later in the game, like I said, it just scales every single turn. Every time you make your land drop, which the deck is very good at doing because it has Ponder and Brainstorm. So, you get to 4 or 5 mana casted for 2 or 3, and the tokens have haste, so it provides an insane amount of pressure while also just being a card that allows you to get a lot of cards.
Yeah, I think it looks very impressive when seeing players experiment with it, and the Stompy decks. Did you play it today in your run in the challenge?
I did. I played the Initiative Stompy deck. I played 4 copies. Every time I cast that card, it was really good. Like I actually had a spot where I had the option to play turn 1 Caves of Chaos Adventurer or turn 1 the Forth Eorlingas for 2. And I decided, well, I'm just going to cast this for 2 because if my opponent has a removal spell, not only do I get the Monarch, but I get 2 bodies, and ended up working out for me. That card was exceptional every time I cast it.
It sounds great. Let's check down the feature match area and see if it's still in here for game number 2. Theo might be a little hesitant to have it with so many creatures on the side of Wynne.
Yeah, in this particular matchup, I don't think that Theo wants access to it because even though Theo is on the play, like you said, Wynne just has a very innate ability to produce a lot of creatures on the battlefield. Now, granted, some of them don't have power. Ignoble Hierarch and Noble Hierarch, respectively, are not able to attack by themselves. So as long as you can make a couple of blockers, you can maybe prevent your opponent from stealing back the Monarch. But yeah, I think Theo's just going to want to go with the tried and true, play a Delver or a Channeler early and then just kind of parlay that into some tempo spells.
As we do see Dragon Channeler untapped here. And attack for 1. Bam.
All right, getcha. Let's see if we got maybe a Delver follow-up. There it is. That's exactly the start that Theo wants. Just play a bunch of creatures and kind of back that up with the cheap permission. A lot of removal spells too. Lightning Bolts, Swords to Plowshares, and more Swords to Plowshares in the sideboard. 4 and 4 after sideboard. So Theo definitely has access to a lot of the spot removal. I do see a Force of Will, a blue card, and what appears to be a Bolt in the Plow. So Theo's hand is basically
perfect. Just a bunch of interactions, what you want with these things. And, we used to see the old jokes back in the day as Windswept Heath is going to fetch here about the Swords to Plowshares, with your Delver deck and applying pressure. But when you have stuff like the Monarch in your deck, it's okay, that maybe it creates a little awkward tension there. You just get to overwhelm people with all the extra cards.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's another thing with the Monarch card. Just like you said, just being able to every single card that you draw is so much more impactful when you're putting this much pressure on your opponent. And even the Delver plus Swords to Plowshares argument, where it's like, yeah, you're giving your opponent a little bit of life. That doesn't matter because the Delver deck actually just has a really good ability to play a long game. It has a lot of cantrips. This new Forth Eorlingas card does also allow it to draw a lot of cards and kind of almost play like a mid-range.
Yeah, so you do see the Delver flip here, revealing the bolt after doing a little surveil trick there, and that's going to put Wynne down to 14 with the bolt in hand. We're to pseudo 11, so the clock is real.
Yeah, if Theo can go ahead and get that Channeler turned on, which a little far away from that, only has instant land, doesn't really have any, sorcery, really wants to find something like a Ponder or a Mishra's Bauble so we can get some Channeler triggers, and really wants to speed up the clock a little bit, and also has to worry about the presence of Endurance as well.
Yep. As we are going to see an attack here for 4 as a fetch from Wynne. This could be one of the 4 Endurances we have post board. Looks like it is.
Yep. So Theo almost certainly has to Force of Will this because, well, I guess that's not true. You do have Swords to Plowshares, so you could let this resolve and try to Swords it and maybe save Force of Will for a follow-up, which I don't hate that. It's pretty close. Which one do you want to use? My instinct is probably Swords to Plowshares because I think Force of Will covers more, although Theo might be considering the presence of Allosaurus Shepherd. It is closed deckless. We know that Wynne only has 1 copy of Shepherd, but Theo doesn't know that. And if Theo's worried about maybe turn 4, say land, Shepherd, hold up 3 mana, that Force of Will could be dead later on.
100%, yeah. And the Swords of Plowshare also has a little bit of awkwardness too, where you're wanting to clock them. But we talked about before, we're only doing 1 damage if we Swords here, and we're losing all the graveyard cards we built up. Whereas if we Force, we maybe get a little bit closer to that Delirium.
Yeah, really tough spot here for Theo. So you say maybe you force this, you deal 4 damage, put Wynne down to 9, and yeah, it's still pretty tough. So Theo is going to go ahead and let it resolve and go towards that Swords to Plowshares line. Just wants to make sure that the Endurance trigger resolves and then fetch. Very good sequencing. Make sure to get the land into the graveyard after the trigger has resolved, and really wants to find. We did talk about how the Eorlingas card may have been sideboarded out, but this is a pretty decent spot.
Yeah,
for
100%. As we do see Swords of Plowshare come down here, and that's going to end up with us surveilling again and getting a little bit of damage through just 1. As we get DRC the graveyard, we now have only missing 1 other card type. So Bauble or a Ponder or anything like that will allow our DRC to start attacking for a bunch of damage. As we are going to see Brainstorm here surveil off the DRC.
Now, my guess is this is likely. I was going to say maybe likely still in combat to try and get the damage in, but we'll have to see exactly what Theo decides to do. Brainstorm with the fetch land in play to make it what we like to call a perfect Brainstorm. Can shuffle away 2 cards that Theo doesn't want access to. And found a Wasteland. That's pretty
Wasteland
good.
on the bayou there, pretty big. Stop something like Orcish Bowmaster from coming down and killing the DRC without needing another fetch land.
Yeah, and the Swords to Plowshares did put Wynne up to 12, or 12 after the combat. Is that a Volrath Stronghold?
I think that is Volrath Stronghold. A little bit of grinding going on this game. So we're going to see an upkeep Endurance.
And interesting. Theo not going to Force of Will this. I wonder if we put the Force of Will back. And now we're shuffling. Okay, this was with the fetch land. Interesting. I wonder why Theo didn't force that.
Yeah, I'm also interested why Wynne timed it like that. Feels like you could have. I guess it's because in the upkeep, and you just knew Theo had less cards, so.
Okay, it looks like Theo he must have not found a second blue card. And maybe that's why the Force of Will never happened. Maybe, okay, I think I know what happened. Theo's hand was Forcible Brainstorm Plow, chose to use the Plow, wanted to cast the Brainstorm, trying to find a second blue card, didn't find a second blue card, put the Force back, and decided to keep the Wasteland.
Gotcha, that makes a ton of sense to me here. As Gaia's Cradle comes down, and we're seeing, Elvish Reclaimer hit the battlefield. It is big.
That one is big. And I want to take a look. I don't recall seeing, no Unholy Heats in Theo's deck, so we just have the Swords to Plowshares since the Reclaimer is not going to get got by a bolt. We see a Fiend Artisan here as well, which is a 3/3 currently?
I believe so.
It's within bolt range.
Yeah. And Theo's card on top is worth keeping too. With 2 Surveils, probably a good sign, something strong as Swords to Plowshares. Double Surveil.
So instant land. It's very unlikely, but if Theo does hit the other 2 card types, that is an attack for 9 damage. But we're going to go ahead and keep it on top, which means no Channeler attacking is going to be able to get in with the Delver. And I wonder, I mean, there's a lot of cards we would keep here, Ponder, any sort of cantrip. Although I guess you could maybe try to get a little lucky, bin the Ponder, because that's card type 3, and then try to find the 4th off of the 2nd Surveil trigger.
Yeah, probably. Probably the card on top of something, maybe like a Ponder, or maybe, just some threat, and Theo just wants that. Who knows? I'm sure he has a great idea. As we see, Green Scenes for X is 1.
Yeah, so X equals 1. What are we going to get here? Could get another Reclaimer. Could get Allosaurus Shepherd, a Hierarch. Those are really our only options. My guess is likely going toward a second Reclaimer.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, as we do see the second Reclaimer come in. Now we can search for things like Bojuka Bog by tapping our Cradle and sacrificing one of these forests. So a lot of plays open up to us now.
Yeah, the instant speed Reclaimer to get Bojuka Bog is exceptional because the Channelers have to attack, and then you could maybe go, say, like if Theo turns on Delirium, then you go tap 1 Reclaimer, sack a land, get the Bog, block a Channeler with the other Reclaimer, so that could be a tough spot for Theo.
Yeah. As Theo at least does have Delver to guarantee an attack no matter what. It looks like Swords of Plowshares was the top card of Theo's deck again.
Okay, it's not bad. Doesn't really give him a great attack. I wonder if we're thinking about saving the Plow. I don't know. I'd be kind of tempted to just fire it off and try to spike Delirium, although it's awkward because if you fire it off and you hit Delirium, then after the DRC triggers resolve, we can actually still we can use the Reclaimer. So we're actually going to respond to the Surveil triggers.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Theo, I think maybe saw. Oh no, had okay. I was like, possibly topped, and it was just shortcutted. As it looks like we grabbed a Bayou. Okay. Some black card in hand worth casting.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe the Bojuka Bog got cut, or maybe it was just not something that crossed Wynne's mind. Maybe he didn't think about the Bojuka Bog, because I can't imagine you'd want to cut it in this matchup given the presence of the DRCs and the Murktides.
Yeah, I agree. Very interesting to see that be the choice there. But Wynne has some planners here at 6-1, so clearly knows what's up.
Chat does bring up a good point. There is 3 copies of Snuff out in Wynne's deck, so that is a potential reason to get the swamp there.
Makes a ton of sense. And Theo tanks on a while and decides the top card is better than potentially getting Delirium.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and keep it again. Let's see what we can find here for Wynne. Only 1 creature in place. The Cradle only makes 1 mana. We're tapping 3. And that is... Oh, Mason.
Plague Engineer? Named Human. Oh my goodness, those DRCs are dead. And we're going to slam in for 3 here with the Elvish Reclaimer.
That was a blowout. That's gonna be tough.
That's a good reason.
Theo's gonna need a really good one on top. Let's see if we kept a Ponder. That's a good start.
And Delver, notably a human on the front side. You cannot cast it.
Is it a human on the back side as well, or
Insect
no?
Aberration, I believe.
I actually don't know. So I'm looking at the most recent version, and it says human insect. I wonder if that was
maybe. It's also possible that it is just human insect. I was mistaken.
It might be, yeah. Might be. See another Ponder here firing off for Theo. I mean, not really sure what we're looking for. Definitely starts with an answer to the Plague Engineer, I would guess, because that kind of speeds up your clock a little bit. Murktide is also an exceptional draw, but the issue with Murktide is that Wynne can just if we do have access to the Bog, we can just main phase Reclaimer for Bog and completely cut off Theo of access to that Murktide.
Kind of an endurance control deck when you get down to it here for Wynne.
Yeah, I mean, this, we joked about how this is not really like traditional elves, and yes, there are 4 copies of Gaia's Cradle and 4 copies of Green Sun Zenith, but past that, this deck is doing something completely different than what elves traditionally does.
Yeah, and Fiend Artisan here is the play for turning up to 3 mana, and something like Endurance here turns off Murktide as an out.
Yeah, interesting to note, Theo did keep that fourth land on top, and with no cards in hand, so we pondered, we drew the land, and then kept the rest of the cards. So either Theo wants to, like, maybe wanted to keep a land to potentially draw forth, or there could be a copy of Forth Eorlingas under that land, and we could untap and cast that for 2.
Yeah. Looks like there's maybe some discussion about the creature type from the players. So we're going to see Grinson for X is 2.
Mason, guess what type of tokens that Forth Eorlingas makes?
Night humans.
Yeah, human knights. So they would be 1/1s off of the Plague Engineer, which, to be honest with you, Forth Eorlingas is one of Theo's better draws, but is it even that good when it's only making 2 1/1s on this board full of 2/2, 3/4, and some 5/5s?
I can't imagine it's that great. So you see a smack here for 5, putting Theo down to 9. And yeah, the Fiend Artisans, I think, are just maybe 2/2s or 3/3s, because Source of Plowshares did kill a bunch of the creatures. But it looks like here's Murktide Regent delving. Looks like we are delving 5 cards, but we have 3 lands tapped. Might just be, floating mana, Omega Wall.
Blue floating, by the way.
Yeah.
I wonder, interesting that we're keeping a spell in the graveyard. I guess it doesn't change the clock off the Murktide, because with Wynne at 10, you can't make it a 1-turn clock regardless. So I think Theo is thinking about keeping 1 extra card in the graveyard in case something like a Channeler comes off. A lot to think about here for Theo, but we'll see how many he decides to delve.
Yeah. He is tanking on it. If he leaves a sorcery in graveyard, he has fetch off the Scalding Tarns to have Delirium on demand, which is kind of appealing. And it looks like that is going to be Theo's choice.
Yeah, creature instant sorcery, then you can crack the Tarn to turn on the 4th.
Tough spot for sure here. So we're going to take a read on Fiend Artisan to make sure it doesn't do anything we don't know about. We're going to take a check here also from Wynne, see how many creatures he has.
Now, question, the Reclaimer attacked last turn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm wondering, we could have just activated that for main phase for Bojuka Bog, and I'm beginning to think that it's possible that Wynne maybe just cut the Bojuka Bog, because that would just seem so weird to me.
It also seems a little weird to me, but it seems to be the world we live in, as the Murktide is a 7/7 here. No, accidentally.
Blue floating, baby. I overtapped. It's fine. You could delve 5 and still overtap. It's fine.
Yeah, you're allowed to float the mana.
Yeah.
No, Theo's like, oh, my bad, I guess. I have Delirium now. I wasn't even sure if that was right before. Now I get to live my life. This is pretty cool.
With Theo at 9, so it wasn't clear how big the artisans are. I want to say, I can't quite get a good look at the graveyard, but I want to say there's 2 creatures in there. So there's at least 4 4s. Yeah. So you block a Fiend Artisan. That's 4, 5, 6, 7. That is 9 on board. So we have life totals correct.
Yeah. We're going to sacrifice the Fiend Artisan now. The Fiend Artisan are 5/5s. Grab Grist. Can sack the Fiend Artisan to kill the Murktide. That'll make the other Fiend Artisan a 6/6, and that's 9 damage.
Yep, that should definitely be enough here. Sack the tapped one, kill the untapped Murktide. The rest should be lethal unless we're miscounting the Reclaimer or the Fiend Artisan, but I feel like those are both turned on at this point.
Yeah, even if it's not turned on, it's like 1 away, and so Theo has to draw something that kills everything and does everything else at the same. It's just almost an insurmountable spot here from Theo. Without cards like Expressive Iteration, as Stride Arbor now can be the play and a sack for the Grist. Theo's like, I do not want to cut the pile. I think I am dead on board. And that,
I'd just like to point out that that Wynne played that Dryad Arbor in the forest section. So
call the police. Arrested. That's going to be a game loss in top 8 there.
Illegal.
Wynne is the winner here. Congratulations. That should lock Wynne up for top 8. And Theo might still be live here at 6-1-1. Was able to draw last round. Might just end up being our 8th seed. So we're going to have to see how breakers play out in the coming round here. There's still some more Magic to be played. But that was an exciting one there and a really impressive showing from the mono kind of Golgari control deck.
Yeah, I guess we could call it elves. I mean, legacy naming deck conventions are kind of weird these days. I don't really know what to call anything, so I'm just going to call everything a mid-range deck. It could be. Are we cool with that?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, all the decks in Magic these days sort of do multiple things at the same time, right? Like they kind of are control and combo, or like aggro and combo, and stuff like that. So it is definitely in the realm to call it that. I'll allow you to have it this time.
Yeah, chat's mentioning Glimpse of Nature. That card is not present in Wynn's deck list. This is, I mean, as true of a control deck as you could possibly get to. With, I guess, control deck with 4 Gaia's Cradle, which is, whatever. But yeah, there's a Traxa, a Craterhoof, Behemoth, just a lot of cool stuff going on. Orcish Bowmasters as well. There is 3 copies. We didn't get to see it too much. I guess it was cast that one game against Ponder, but other than that, that is kind of the new card that Wynn is playing, and one that seems particularly good in Wynn's deck.
Yeah, it seems great. Really thinking about it, this deck reminds me a lot of Death and Taxes, but doing its own version of it, right? Kind of has a combo finish instead of having like all the land destruction stuff, but like a lot of disruption, a lot of way to mess up what the opponent is doing here and apply pressure. So I really like this style of deck. I'm excited to see, talk to Wynn here in a second. They are walking over to our interview section. We're going to interview Wynn, and then we'll get a feature match. We have a backup one for players playing for top 8, so that will be exciting. But we're waiting for Wynn to hum over. But yeah, I think this deck is very good. And, people are calling it Newton Elves because the the Magic Online streamer Newton. And that is, I think, a fair-ish name of the deck, but not quite the thing. But let's get to Wynn's opinion as they are plugged in. Wynn, congratulations on locking up top 8. How are you feeling?
Great. Thank you so much. That was a good match. I think I'm well prepped for the Delver matchup, but it was really showing all of the deck strengths, I think.
Nice. So what made you choose this deck? Have you been a long-time Elves player and sort of transitioned into this deck? Did you just see it? How'd you end up here?
Yep, exactly. I was a regular Glimpse of Nature Heritage Druid Elves player for many years, and then Hello Newton came out with innovation, started cutting Glimpse of Natures, making the deck slower, grindier, and after a while, he convinced me to start playing it, and I've just found it to be really powerful right now.
All right, Wade, you got to talk to me about this deck name. So it's listed on MTG Melee as Golgari Control. Yep. Do you think that is an appropriate deck name for this?
No, that was what MTG Melee would let me enter. I would put in Orcs if I could, because it used to be Elves and now it's corrupt. So we're playing Orcs, not to mention the 3 Bowmasters.
I think you should have put Death and Taxes. I think your deck is the new age Death and Taxes. I swear, looking at it, like you're kind of like an endurance control deck. You have access to a lot of tutoring. You sort of lock your opponent out in a lot of ways and have a combo finish. I am really impressed by this deck.
No, it feels really good, and it definitely plays out like a control deck, very similar to D&T.
Awesome. Talk to me about the Orcish Bowmasters. How has that card been for you? I know you mentioned the Orcs as the deck name. Has that card been kind of the truth?
Yeah, I think Orcish Bowmasters is really, really powerful right now in Legacy. When it was first spoiled, I thought it was going to be totally insane, completely broken. I don't think that's the case. I think it's merely very good. It has utility in so many matchups. It pings creatures in D&T. Being able to snipe moms is so powerful. It has a lot of game against control decks, against 8-cast when they try to go for their draw loops with the Mirren Spy. You can flash in the Bowmaster. And even against combo decks like Doomsday, there's a non-zero amount of application. I played against Doomsday last round and managed to beat them down to 1 after they passed the turn after Doomsday, and then just slam the Bowmaster, and the ETB trigger finishes it off.
Sick. That's awesome. Well, Wynn, thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us. We're going to give you a couple of minutes here to go relax before top 8, and we'll be seeing you here very soon back in our future match area, so congratulations.
Thank you.
But for us, we're going to go and watch our time-shifted match and see what's going on there and see some more action, because I believe we have another win-and-in situation going on in our backup time-shifted match, which is going to be Eric here on Death and Taxes versus Chris Smith on Mono Black Combo. Teammates deck Steven Dykeman we saw last round of Swish Gaming. Looks like they both ended up playing this deck. And Chris looking for the back-to-back top 8 this weekend, Doom.
Exactly. So just a small note here. It is showing 5-1. These players are, I believe, 6-1 going into this round. So they are, we presume, to be playing for top 8. We did see Chris on camera earlier, along with, like you said, teammate Steven Dykeman deploying this mono black combo deck. It's got the Helm of Obedience leyline stuff. No leylines for Chris, but Dothy Voidwalker, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that also does combo with Helm.
I believe so too, yes. Because we're just going to see a Solitude pitching the Swords to Plowshares just to make sure that Dothy doesn't do anything going on there. And Ancient Tomb into Shieldred.
Mason, talk to me about Shieldred. How much do you love this card in Legacy?
Swords to Plowshares on Shieldred. I am just very impressed by Shieldred's ability to be the best Baneslayer we've ever seen. As we do see a Wasteland going after Ancient Tomb. You know, in Legacy for a long time and in Magic, the formats are defined by creatures that generate extra value and have to do something immediately. If you didn't do that, you just weren't good enough most of the time. And Shieldred has broken that rule, as we do see another Dothy Voidwalker come down here. And Eric has been very aggressive about controlling the board, you know, and using Solitude by pitching a Swords to Plowshares here. And it's coming back now where, you know, Chris is able to maybe assemble the Helm combo here with just the right draw step.
Yeah, Mother of Rune's typically pretty good against, decks that have a lot of removal like Delver, but Chris Smith's deck is not really about that type of stuff. It's really just about using fast mana, deploying threats. Also, specifically in this particular matchup, cards like Ancient Tomb and Chromebox, and Dark Ritual to an extent. The fact that Chris can jump ahead of mana really kind of punishes Eric for playing this mana denial game with Wasteland and Rashadan Port. So decks like this are typically not what Death and Taxes wants to play against.
100%. As we are seeing a Recruiter of the Guard going to search somebody to enter the guard chip.
All right, now taking a look at Eric's deck list. Unfortunately, we did see in John Ryan Hamilton's deck, we did have that, I already forgot the name of it, but the 4-mana 1/1. That card is not present in Eric's deck list. We do have some tutor targets, notably Solitude, searchable off of Recruiter of the Guard.
Yeah, it looks like we recruited pitching Lorraine the Third Path, which we could have used to blow up the Chrome Mox. Might have been an interesting sort of line there, but looks like we decided against it. Yeah, that Solitude is voided by the Dothy Voidwalker. There was a second one in play, so.
Yep, so that is going to be castable up for Chris Smith. Now, not going to do a ton with an active Mother of Runes in the battlefield, so not going to go towards casting that, but, you know, maybe down the road, if we can get Eric into a spot where the Mother of Runes are tapped, could potentially deploy that. And it looks like Eric is also a Death and Taxes gamer. I believe that is, it might be, I don't know if that's a serialized one, but it's at least a Halo Foil Yorion.
It is, yeah, for sure, Halo Foil. I'd be interested to see what that maybe ask if Eric, you know, makes the top 8 here, as would you get a draw for turn.
And we'll have to see what Eric wants to go towards. Just going to pluck in there with the Recruiter of the Guard. As far as threats are concerned, really looking for, it looks like we're going to go ahead and pick up the Orion, but Karakas there as well. If we look at Chris's deck list, I was going to say there is Shieldred, but past that, not a ton of legends here to be able to pick up with Karakas. And Chris does have a couple of copies of Orcish Bowmaster, and never mind, that's the game right there. I guess our question was answered, basically.
Yeah, Dark Ritual into Helm, and once again from last round, Helm activates, you hit X creatures, X is 1, they're all exiled. Let's check out Eric's sideboard, though, and see what can happen. And in Eric's sideboard, we have 2 Council Judgment, 2 Deafening Silence, 2 Mindbreak Trap, 2 Surgical Extraction, Containment Priest, Emrakul, Fairy Macabre, Grafdigger's Cage, Rest in Peace, the Battle of Brywater, and Yorion the Sky Nomad. Which of these do you like?
Well, if you'll give me a second, I'm going to go ahead and read the Battle of Bywater real quick, because I'm not exactly sure what that one does. Looks like it's a 3-mana Wrath that blows up creatures power 3 greater. Okay, that one's not particularly great in this matchup, but if we go ahead and take a look at the rest of Eric's deck list, we have Deafening Silence maybe could stop Chris from being able to go like the Dark Ritual Chrome Mox turns. That could be something that we want access to. Council's Judgment to be able to answer a Leyline of the Void to stop the Helm combo. But past that, there's not really a ton here from Eric's side.
100%. I have to agree. I think you're sort of ill-prepared for these kind of matchups, which is a bad news for an XJ Cloud fan who saw lock up the win in last round. Might be wanting for Chris Smith to lose here. Let's check out Chris Smith's sideboard and see how it differs from Steven Dykman's, or if it's exactly the same. Looks like we have 2 Orcish Bowmaster, 2 Plague Engineer, Chalice of the Void, Tormund Script, Volta Whispers, Pithy Needle, Looking Coding, the Filigree Silex, and Snaring Bridge, Trinosphere, Helm of Obedience, Microsoft, Lettuce, Worm Coil Engine. Which of these do you like?
Well, I don't like Lettuce, so we're going to keep that one home. But I do like 2 copies of Orcish Bowmaster. There's a lot of X ones on the side of the Death and Taxes player, being able to pick off stuff like Athalia, maybe a turn 1 Mother of Runes. If you could, like, let's say Eric plays turn 1 land Mother, then you can go land Chrome Box Bowmaster, kill that before they untap. Plague Engineer, also a slam dunk in this matchup. So we kind of think that Eric is not improving that much, and Chris is getting a bunch of bangers. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough spot. This is our time shift match. Let's see if we can hop back down in there already. The players should just be about ready to go as they're looking at their opening hands. I'm curious to talk to Chris and Dykman and see how much they liked Shieldred after this weekend.
Well, they both had 3 copies, so they have to like it a decent amount, right?
Well, they had to have liked it at the beginning of the tournament. I'm curious at the end of the tournament.
That one, to be fair, that one might be coming out against the presence of Caracas.
Yeah, Caracas lines up well against Shieldred. To be fair, I think a lot of things do, which is sort of where I'm at. But I can believe Shieldred is strong.
I mean, well, Orcish Bowmaster is essentially just a 2-mana version of Shieldred, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're just actually a Ponder Brainstorm hate deck. I like where your head's on that one. As we do see 2-mana tapped here.
Looks like Thalia, and we'll have to see if Chris does have a copy of that Bowmasters.
Dark Ritual. Oh, Opposition Agent.
Oh, okay. So we responded to Thalia with a Ritual into Opposition Agent. Oh. Now, if we take a look at Eric's deck list, there is quite a bit that searches here. We have, well, I guess it's just Recruiter of the Guard and Stoneforge Mystic, which, to be fair, shutting off both of those cards aren't too bad.
Agreed. And they're going to pay the 1 for the Chrome Mox, getting rid of Leyline of the Void.
And see what Chris wants to go towards. Can't really attack the Opposition Agent into the Thalia, because that thing does have First Strike. Does not have a copy of Orcish Bowmasters. I would imagine that probably would have been deployed over playing, or I guess you could play the Chrome Mox, play the land untapped, and the Bowmasters. So looks like doesn't have a copy of that. And 3 mana for a Jite. Now, that one, Stoneforge Mystic, that's probably the card that Eric would have wanted to search for, but no need to search for it if you just draw the Jite.
Yeah, just have it is the best way to get it, I say. This Field of Ruin, also incredibly dangerous. Do not activate this. We see Plague Engineer naming human. Opposition Agent will shrink, but I think we're okay with that exchange.
Oh, no. Isn't Plague Engineer one-sided? Because they all the new cards they print nowadays are one-sided, I believe.
Oh, yeah, it might be one. I thought it was like an old callback. Oh, yeah, wow, you're right.
Yeah, it doesn't even shrink the Opposition Agent. Just get in there for 3. But that is absolutely back-breaking here. For Eric, if you look at the creature listing, Mother of Runes human, Recruiter of the Guard humans, Thalia human. I guess we do have Skyclave Apparition to answer that thing, but in Swords to Plowshares, that's a good start.
It should be exiled, which there's a time shifting match. We can't fix it, but I'm sure the players will notice in a second. As Mother of Runes can now come down, Plague Engineer is out of the way.
Yeah, and that theoretically could pick up the Jite, although Chris can kind of sort of prevent that by just holding back the Opposition Agent and making it awkward for Eric to attack into the creature, because he would lose the Mother of Runes in the process. Looks like we're going for a Grief here. See what Eric is thinking about. Maybe pitch casting a Solitude here in response.
Yeah, it seems to be something's happening, and that's the one play that makes the most sense to me.
Looks like, all right, Solitude. Oh, that is the Battle of the Bywater. See if we can get that. I don't know if we can get that one pulled up on camera, but that's the one that I personally had to read as well. So the text on this is white, colorless sorcery, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, then create a food for each creature you control. So that one is pretty good. I mean, pretty good on this board. It would be able to answer the Opposition Agent and the Grief, so we see that be taken from Grief.
Yeah, and now Solitude and Flicker Wisp are what's left over. As we are going to be attacking in here with the Opposition Agent. And if we get the Zumazawa's Jite on this Mom, that will stem some of the bleeding.
Yeah, you could honestly, for Eric, you could even just go Solitude, Pitch Flicker Wisp, kill the Grief, equip the Mother Burns, attack, kill the opposition agent, and just kind of move on from there. I actually don't hate that play.
Yeah, I think that seems pretty strong. But let's see how Eric wants to approach playing this game. Chris does have 2 cards in hand.
And, kind of a tough spot for Chris there because, aware of the presence of the Battle of Bywater, you kind of have to take that because that's going to clean up both your creatures. That almost certainly that both of your creatures are dying this turn because of the line that we discussed. So no matter what, you're probably losing both creatures. And this way you kind of make Eric commit more resources to being able to blow up both of the creatures on Chris's side.
Yeah, I wonder if Chris was maybe supposed to just hold back here to at least trade with the Mother of Runes. It looks like Eric has a real decision on his hand, though. We'll just see how they're thinking about that as Caracas comes down.
I guess the other line could be Flicker. I don't know what we're flickering here, though. We can flicker a land, but the land doesn't come back till end of turn, so we can't go flicker land equip. But I guess we want to save the Solitude to be able to potentially hardcast, because now you have a flyer to put the GT on.
How does Flicker Wisp work with Chrome Mox? Because you have flickered the Chrome Mox and then make them have to imprint again?
It does work the way that you want it to, yeah.
Yeah, that seemed to have been of the line. Just knock Chris off a land there.
Yeah, the other consideration was if Eric maybe had access to 1 more mana, you could say, have Flicker the Grief, play your land, equip the Mother, attack, kill the opposition agent, and just let the Solitude get griefed. That could have been a potential line if we had more mana, but that is off the table. And here's a Dark Ritual. Do we have a Hardcast Agadeems?
I don't think this should be allowed to have happened, because it should have been exiled.
Oh, right. Well, this is unfortunately, as we said, a time-shifted match, and that is something that we cannot fix.
Yeah, so what we can do, Chad, is we're going to inform the judge, and then the judge will give Chris a warning. If Chris has done a bunch of these things, then that's what matters. Most likely, we all kind of know Chris on the series. Little oopsie-poopsie happens. We saw some happen in the last feature match yesterday. We'll inform the judge, and I'm sure the producer who's hearing me is notifying the judge to let Chris Smith know about this as a sort of mistake. And also, it looks like they figured it out.
Looks like they may have realized it.
Perfect. Awesome.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And our judge there, Core, their job is a spotter judge. They are a judge who can deliver rulings, but we sort of have them there to take care of things in the feature match area. So we are calling a judge, and I'm going to assume this is going to be a pretty easy fix.
Yeah, we can rewind, I would assume.
We can rewind / the way I see it, Chris cast Agadeems with no targets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it says up to, right? I believe.
Yeah, it says up to, because I believe it's an X spell. Yeah. So, and a very awkward. Both players did fail to maintain game state, but I think that is a pretty easy fix to the problem. These sort of things do happen. Yeah, so you see we're just going to put it back, have these in play.
Yeah, so the Plague Engineer would get exiled. The Agadeems would likely be on the stack. Yeah, and it's even better because we knew that the Solitude was public information, so we knew that we knew what the draw step would have been, so seems like a fairly easy rewind to me. Go back to the point in where the Agadeems was on the stack. Should be able to get resolved here.
Yeah, it also maybe looks like it's unclear to me whether they're rewinding or Eric is just resetting the game state. It's very easy for Eric to put the top card of the deck back on the deck and have this conversation, right? Because it's not like we know, Eric's just going to draw for turn. Like you mentioned, it's all open. So looks like they're talking here, explain the situation. I imagine this is a moment, you've all been there. You get a GRV, judge tells you, and then we move on.
Yeah, no, as far as the game itself, given that was Chris's play, doesn't really have a ton to do with the Agadeems and the ritual, and is a little bit worried about that GT and the Flicker Wisp. So that's really going to be a problem for Chris, where, maybe Chris can attack for a little bit of damage, protect with the Mother of Runes, get in a little bit of damage there. But then Eric's just going to be able to go untap, fire up that GT and the Flicker Wisp, and just absolutely go to town on Chris's creatures.
Yeah. And if you're a Chris Smith fan, really easy. This is not the worst time to have this happen. Obviously, when it isn't what you want, but we are up a game, so we get game number 3.
True.
You see, this
Yeah,
would
this
not-
being. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to joke about Shieldred. You can say actual things.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't going to make a shielded joke. I was going to say this being a time shifted match. I don't know if we can maybe fast forward. I don't know what the words on that is, but looks like we're just going to go ahead and get this resolved here.
Yeah.
And Chris picked up it looks like the Dark Ritual still in the. Oh, that was the first Dark Ritual.
Yeah. Yeah, the one from before. So it looks like we are going to get an attack here. And this Flicker Wisp can eat the opposition agent and then Mother of Runes to pro black. So,
oh boy, yeah, we just go block the agent, pro black, untap, equip, kill the other creature, and yeah, Chris is in a rough spot here.
Yeah, Chris, you can Dark Ritual Agademes. You have a 3-drop now. So, okay, choosing not to. So we are going to get passing of the turn.
Yeah, funny enough, I actually could have just gotten back that opposition agent. Looks like we're going to save the Dark Ritual. Potentially, that could have been a good play because you are maybe slightly worried about Eric top decking a card like Stoneforge Mystic, but Chris is going to go ahead. Oh, we just had a second opposition agent. Well, that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, Umazawa's Jitte, really good when creatures are involved. If you are ever, like, I know a lot of people, Doom, I don't know where you fall on this, they want to unban in Modern Jitte. This game, I think, is going to be a good example of why you don't want Jitte unbanned in Modern. As we are going to smack here in for 6, and we can, just shoot down one of these creatures, whichever one we think is best for us. We can also just gain 4 life if we're so inclined. We're going to Solitude first, pitching Lorraine. Eric hates Lorraine, and I love Lorraine, so it's a really like frustrating moment for me. I'm like, cast it. It's such a cool card. We can both start drawing cards. We'll do our thing. We'll blow up the Chrome Mox.
Kill the Chrome Mox.
Yeah. I have just got my mind on killing Chrome Mox out here, and Eric just wants to let Chris have it, which I respect. It's a homie move.
Yeah. You wanted to Flicker Wisp it too, just Chris. You just wanted to put Chris in the dirt, basically.
If we had done my play, Chris would have exiled a Dark Ritual or whatever, and we wouldn't have had this awkward moment. That's all I'm saying. I hate to be predictive casting, but we're going to see how passing of the turn.
Yeah, and this is so Chris's deck. There are a couple of good. Oh, okay. Well, that's awkward because it doesn't actually kill the Flicker Wisp because we can just protect with the Mother, and then you have 2 counters to kill both the Bowmasters and the Flicker Wisp, but not the best draw step. What I was gonna say is that Chris's deck is not the best at kind of top decking on an empty board. Like, doesn't have a ton of single threats that are good on their own. The Shieldred's covered by the Karakas, Opposition Agent and Dathi Voidwalker are covered by the Jitte. The one card that Chris could draw to potentially get out of this is Karn the Great Creator.
Yeah, Karn would be great here. As we do pick up Yorion, and then we're going to cast Aether Vial.
And notably, the Karn the Great Creator would also shut off the Umazawa's Jitte.
Yep. Agadeem's Awakenings. Yeah, this is sort of the problem with shooting down the Jitte right now, is you allow the Agadeems, which you knew about, to be pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, and that's able to kill the Flicker Wisp. Definitely want to kill the Flicker Wisp over the Mother of Runes, because if you kill the Mother, then the Flicker Wisp can attack and kill the Bowmasters again. So yeah, pretty good sequence here for Chris there. I actually forgot about the Awakening, and that is something that that everybody knew about, except for me. You probably knew about it.
I knew about it. I was just very interested by the play. I thought maybe there was something in hand, and I realized there wasn't. And you know what? These things, in some ways, it's really honorable of Eric, because Eric's just playing with it as if these things didn't happen. So, as we are going to see Karn the Great Creator, and that one draw after another. You mentioned Chris doesn't have many good top decks, but he found one. It's going to go find something out of the sideboard. It's got some glare, so I can't get a good view of it.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I think that's the Battle of Helm's Deep and Staring Bridge, or whatever the one from the movies, like, you shall not pass.
You are good at the promo game. You are X-1 at that promo game, so
yeah. It's a
lot. I'll never forget about the one. Don't tempt me.
I would never let you forget about the one. I'm ashamed by the one.
The One Ring?
No, I'm not ashamed by that. That's just a good clean time. As Thalia is coming down here, and we're going to equip Umazawa's Jitte to the Thalia. Small misstep. I think both our players are a little anxious to be playing for top 8 here. Understandable. A lot of money and a lot of prize on the line here.
Yeah, I was going to say the Jitte didn't get any counters. What happened with the Jitte counters?
We didn't equip it to the Yorion before attacking the Karn.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that is Ensnaring Bridge. I can tell because it has the little name thing underneath. So no cards in hand.
Got it. Okay.
What's going on with this card? Oh, is he just playing it and not having anything to imprint and just dies? Oh,
Yeah,
Carly equipment stops the equip. We both forgot about Karn in play. Our bad.
Oh,
hey, chat. Everyone
okay.
makes mistakes. Everybody has those days, little oopsie poopsie. Okay, so the way this works with Chromox is even though you can't imprint, it still stays on the battlefield. And Chris was just trying to get the hand down to 0. So we have the de-sleeved one to make sure we don't accidentally tap it for mana.
Makes sense.
Yep.
And Bridge is going to go ahead and buy us a ton of time here. If we take a look at Eric's deck list, not really a ton of ways in a ton of answers to that Bridge. So we have the 2 copies of Lauren the Third Path, which I think one of them got pitched early. So we got 1 copy of that alongside the Recruiters, which is back online now that the opposition agent is dead. But after that, I guess the Council's Judgment in the side. Oh yeah, the Flicker Wisp too. That's a good point.
Yeah, so we actually have Yorion with Caracas to flicker every turn, and like bum 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 on a clown music plays. But we need to get to that point first.
True, and the vial's on 2, so you could eventually tick up the vial to 5, and then just that's the actual infinite loop right there.
Yeah, I almost kind of wish we kept that Wasteland in play and then just bounced our Yorion with Caracas and replayed and just start shooting things down with the Solitude, but Eric's got a plan here. I guess part of it is keeping Chris off mana. Oh, yeah. Here we go, baby.
All right. Let's do it.
Look at that.
We cue the clown music.
Opposition agent in response.
All right, and this is going to go ahead and flicker. Yeah, I guess the only good target to flicker is the Solitude, which is fine. It's just kill a creature every turn. Eric motioning for some mana. Pick up a Grief. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah, especially again. Yeah, because now you see we have Vial on. We can put Vial on 5 to Vial in the Yorion, and then we're really doing the flickers.
Yeah, this is just Splitter Twin.
Yeah, a lot of value to be had here.
Yeah, it does realize that we can just do the Vial. Yeah, all your creatures are now going to be dead for the rest of the game. I guess the saving grace for Chris here is we do still have that ensnaring bridge, so it's not really like Eric can pressure Chris here, but really wants to find.
Oh, there's
that's not bad. That's
can't do it because Thalia's in play.
Oh, never mind.
I forgot.
Okay.
All right, we got Rashad and Port. That's actually really good with the Thalia here. We're slowly but surely getting into position. If we can keep Chris on 4 drops in hand, our Mother of Runes is going to be able to attack, as we're seeing it attack right now into the opposition agent. Going to get some counters, and now, chat, we've unlocked some pretty cool plays where we can, shrink our own creatures with the Umazawa Shite to attack underneath the bridge at 0 power. So.
Yeah. So you could go like Rashad and Port, tap down a land, hope that Chris draws another uncastable, 2 cards in hand. Then you can go use the last counter on Jite, shrink the Solitude down to 2, attack with the Solitude equipped, get 2 more counters, and just kind of repeat the loop that way.
Yep. As we are going to see, Solitude get this out of the way. And probably an upkeep Rashad and Port. One of the many lands that are technically a swamp, but not really. Takanuma falls in that category too, off the top. Not enough for Chris to cast anything, though. And you're starting to see the late game power of the Yorion deck, the Yorion Tactics deck, excuse me.
Right. When you get to this loop with Caracas plus Vial on 5, it's just really hard for Chris to mount any sort of reasonable battlefield if there's anything good to flicker on Eric's side. You're just going to have access to so many cards, like being able to, flicker that Solitude ad nauseum. And once we find maybe like a Recruiter of the guard, we can just tutor our entire deck into play, basically. So you would have to imagine that Eric is favored this game, but Chris does have that 1-2 punch of Helm plus lane line if we can get access to that. And there's step 1.
Yeah, there is step 1, and it looks like, draw for the turn here. I think Eric just was a little too excited to kill everything and should have kept the Jite counters to kind of get the growing down. But here's Spirit of the Labyrinth. Really, Ogreish Bowmaster circa 2012.
Basically, yeah. And if Chris just peels a Voidwalker, we're done here, I think. I don't really think there's any other way, because we only have 1 counter on the Jite. and you can, you can bounce the Yorion Flicker or Violet back in, but the Solitude won't come back until Chris's end step. So yeah, if there's a Voidwalker off the top, we're done.
Yep. Eric does have upkeep port still, so Leyline of the Void won't do it. So it's just Voidwalker that can, but it is a very live draw here. Yeah, chat's wondering how we cast it. It was second Urborg, so we legend rolled the first one away.
Right.
Aquaman sleeves.
Love the sleeves, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. An upkeep port here. Going to go ahead and lock down one of Chris's lands here. Let's see if there's a Voidwalker.
All right. If you're not going to draw Voidwalker, land's really good because now Leyline of the Void is a live draw. The port's going to be doing a lot less here as Eric plays another Aether Vial.
That's a brick. Even something like a Wasteland to help to keep Chris off of a Leyline of the Void. Eric's really just looking for something to be able to combo with that the Yorion Solitude loop, as we said, like we talked about. Stoneforge. Well, I guess Stoneforge wouldn't be that great here, but Lure into the Third Path, Recruiter of the Guard, anything along those lines is excellent. Even maybe a Skyclave Apparition would probably lock it up too.
Yep. And yeah, I see players talking in chat. 6 and 1/1 is not a hard lock in this event. We have a lot of players.
The pairings got really weird this time around. I think there was one table that could draw, but I think we just saw table 2 play it out in our feature match A. So there was a lot of people that had to play it out.
Yeah. I feel like Eric has his Battle Scroll. I think we just got to take a turn and let it get in play now that Chris has the mana to be playing things like Leyline of the Void and just get the power so whenever we do draw Flickers, we can try and take over the game. But
yeah, we'll take a look at the graveyard here for Chris. See what we're doing a little reading on the battle. Love the battle. Good flavor.
Love battle. I love lamp.
All right. What the heck is that, Mason?
I know this card. It is, hang on, Ill-Gotten Gains. I just don't know all its effects. So remove.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to read Ill-Gotten Gains. Exile Ill-Gotten Gains. Each player discards their hand, then returns the 3 cards in their graveyard to their hand.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna let Eric get the first crack at it here because we like the best we can do is play a City of Traders, but we wouldn't be able to really cast anything off of that. So I mean, looking at Eric's graveyard, we got a Flicker Wisp, a Solitude. The battle's not doing a lot here. My guess is you almost certainly want the Flicker Wisp. That's probably step
Flicker
one.
Wisp is like the card Eric was trying to draw, and Chris was nice enough to give it to him. Chris does have Karn, the Great Creator, and City of Traders in hand. I guess we're asking a judge of ruling on something, on how Ill-Gotten Gains maybe works.
Okay.
I'll tell you this: when gains are normally gotten illy, things are not good. So. That's a tongue tire, by the way. Try saying that 5 times fast.
Is that another Shieldred joke?
No, but it should have been. Shieldred's typically the joke, but now I think it's a different type of joke. Oh, they don't know who chooses first. I assume it's
okay.
Player
active, non-active, right?
Yeah. All right.
So I'm assuming Chris would choose first.
Yeah. So Chris is taking City of Traders and Karn, and Eric's like, okay, I'm gonna grab this Flicker Wisp and this Swords to Plowshares, I guess, and this Solitude.
I wonder if it should be like a Liliana type thing where you just take your graveyard, you put 3 face down, then your opponent takes their graveyard and they put 3 face down.
Yeah, it feels like it maybe should have been, but it's not templated that way.
Yeah.
I wonder if we were supposed to play this card because it's not like there are any X1s in play that could have attacked us under the bridge, and now Eric has gotten an answer to the bridge, an answer to Dothy, and I think we only have Leyline of the Void as an out now, as long as Eric holds up the sword / Solitude.
We were able to pick up a copy of Karn the Great Creator, which I guess is pretty good because Eric can't really keep Chris off of that because you can port 1 land, but you port the city, and we still have 6 mana to pay through the Thalia. But yeah, we're going to be able to flicker now that, like you said, Flicker Wisp was one of Eric's best draw steps, and we basically just gave that to Eric. And now you can flicker the bridge, get in a huge attack, turn on the Jite, which, like you said, that'll cut off Dothy Voidwalker as an out. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not really sure if we were even supposed to cast that.
Yeah, we also now have. Oh, it just occurred to me. We can also flicker out Helm if need be. Like we can Jite the
On end
buff,
step?
but yeah, like we basically this turn we'll probably end up Flicker Wisping our Yorion if we like end up viling and just do all that again. But like we also have that if things get too bad because we have Caracas to bounce and then we can do that and just attack in. So a lot of different options going on here. It looks like we're going to Caracas here. Yeah, I'm just going to play with the Yorion face up. This might be going to a game number 3 here. This has been one of the more wild games we've seen today, Devin.
It has, yeah. Things get weird when you involve Aether Vial on 5, Caracas, and Yorion and a whole bunch of mana. Especially now that we have a Flicker Wisp in the mix, we just have access to do so much stuff. Now, appears that we are giving Chris a 1-turn window for Leyline. I still don't think we have anything that can contest a Leyline because Chris has access to 6 mana. We tap 5 for a Leyline, 1 Fire up the Helm, boom, boom. But other than that, I think Eric has most other things covered.
Yeah, we are going to see a Carnage Creator get cast. We're going to respond to Aether Vial before we can't activate our artifacts. And we are now going to have these things, Solitude and Flicker Wisp, flicker out. They will come back at the end of the turn. Chris in a little bit of an awkward spot, too, with the Karn, because Thalia is taxing any sort of 1-mana spell. Don't want to take up on Aether Vial.
And if you're Chris, I wonder what we're getting here with the Karn. So going back into the sideboard, we could get something. Oh, actually, I guess you can't cast it this turn because we only have access to 1. I was going to say Needle on Vial could kind of help a little bit. Maybe also Needle on Jite.
Yeah, I think there we go. We Flicker Wisp and we flicker the Ensnare Bridge. Holy cow. That was a crazy game. And we still have game number 3 here for this win-in for top 8. Both players playing a grindy game. We're going to jump straight into game 3 here with the power of time-shifted magic here. So make that happen. But wow, that was a crazy one, Devin.
Yeah, that was wild. A lot of stuff going on there. We were able to set up the Yorion loop. Chris was, a couple draw steps away from finding a Dothy Voidwalker. Had a couple spots where he could find that, or a Leyline of the Void with that Helm to just end the game on the spot. But yeah, like you said, that Ill-Gotten Gains was kind of interesting because that was one of Eric's best top decks, was the Flicker Wisp, and we kind of just gave that. But here we are, and we got Takanuma in the mono black deck. You ever Wasteland the mono black deck? That's got to be a good feeling on turn 1.
That is a good feeling. Also for Twitch chat, this is a time-shifted match. So this round's been going a long while for y'all because we watched the one whole match and now we're watching the other match that was playing simultaneously. There is a round timer. I am unsure where it is at in this state, but I know it is being watched and we are setting up your top 8. This way we can go immediately into things.
Yeah, looking at Melee, it looks like there are, from what I could tell, there's 0 outstanding matches. So the round is either ended or very close to ending, and we are off to the races here. So got Wastelanded, had a City of Traders and a Mox, and that is an opposition agent in response to a second Wasteland. That one going to be pretty good against Eric if Eric has something like a Stoneforge Mystic, and just to be able to put a little bit of pressure on Eric as well.
Yeah, and Eric does a Plains and Go, one of these weird Wasteland games where both players playing monocolored decks but susceptible to Wastelanding. So we're finally getting here. Leyline of the Void's going to enter the exile for the second Chrome Mox. As we do see a second Plains enter the battlefield for Eric.
And hard to tell. I think that's a Grafdigger's Cage. Looks like it.
I believe so, yeah. So that's going to stop Agadeem's Awakening from happening.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. It is a card that was pretty powerful for Chris last game, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. 80 cards. Probably have something maybe a little worse. Orcish Bowmaster comes down.
Maybe like a Shieldred.
Yeah, maybe like a Well, Shieldred lines up really well against Grafdigger's Cage. So write that one down. Your opponent brings in Cage for your Agadeem Grindy plan. You level them by main decking the Shieldred the Apocalypse.
Perfect. We're just coming full circle at this point. We do see the Bowmasters getting in there. That is, I mean, if you look at life totals, Eric's already at 8. This is just mono black aggro.
Yeah, for real. As we are going to see, I believe that's The equipment creature.
Sash.
Lion Sash, thank you.
Yeah, 1 copy in Eric's deck to be able to tutor for. Not going to be the best here. I guess you can make it a 2/2 by eating a land to check the Bowmaster, get in for 4. Looks like we're actually just going to go ahead and trade for the opposition agent, which does make sense as well.
Yeah, just get that out of the way. And we're going to see Ancient Tomb as the plan for turn into a second Orcish Bowmaster.
Yeah, we're just doing this in combat to grow the army. Just mono black beatdowns, baby.
Oh, and the Orcish, so it was in response to the activation of the Lion Sash. So shot that down, let us keep the opposition agent as well. And Eric's down to 5. And Eric does have cards like Solitude, etc., that can be powerful here, but needs time to deploy them as Recruiter. Oh, it looks like Skyclave Apparition, is the play for turn here. That's going to let us eat something. The opposition agent's going to go.
So that can eat the Bowmaster, and then you can potentially use the Skyclave to check the other, or excuse me, eat the opposition, check the Bowmasters with the Skyclave, but Chris still gets the freely attack with that 2/2. You don't really want to trade the Skyclave to give Chris a 3/3, given that we're already down to 5 life. And Chris just has got a very, very good battlefield assembled here. And yeah, just trying to see if you want to shove everything, even trade a Bowmaster for another point of damage.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to push it down to 3.
Mason, if only we had Bump in the Night. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that would be so much better. Children does 2 damage sometimes. Bump always does 3.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah, shield. If Chris can, you guess what? You also can't Caracas a Bump in the Night. Just saying.
True. Few speak of this. As we do see a recruitment officer come down. Chat brought up Grafdigger's Cage does stop Helm of Obedience from putting the creature into play off the helm. So
true. So in the Fair Helm plan.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Which Fair Helm with Shieldred's making it sounds like we're cooking a little.
You got to check all the boxes.
Yeah. And honestly, this Recruiter of the Guard, incredible check blocking duty. It's curious because you can trade with double blocking, but you'll lose some other runes in that way. And you do have Yorgon, which makes you want to flicker. But this chump block here is pretty nice. And now Mother of Runes makes it really hard for any attacks to happen, especially with Solitude in hand. We're going to see Daze Void,
right?
well, you can't go for it. So both players are sort of trapped now. If Chris attacks,
can't you go for it? I'm confused.
Well, if you go for the helm, we can Solitude the Daze. So the Daze has to actually attack, I think, in order to be lethal.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yep. Oh, I didn't see the Solitude. I was looking at Eric's, like the cards that Eric was holding. I didn't see the Solitude that was face up. My bad. Okay, so yeah, you would just go attack with the Daze, force the issue on Solitude. Solitude is cast, then you respond in helm.
Yeah. So Chris has it won if Eric doesn't have some 0 mana card, but the Aether Vial, I think, basically spells Doom. Chris could have had Swords to Plowshares plus a white card or another Solitude. Both of those would have done the job.
It's kind of funny. Chat bringing up a good point. Eric, I believe, chat saying Eric has a copy of Rest in Peace in their hand, which if you cast that one, you're just dead on the table. So you probably don't want to cast that one.
Eric brought in Rest in Peace for the Agadeem's Awakening. So Shieldred didn't come back because he knows I hate Shieldred. And so he didn't want the Shieldred to be on stream. And that's why Eric's my ride or die.
Yeah, you count the number of outs that you have to Shieldred. You look at your Caracases and you're like, you know what? I got to bring in this Rest in Peace to kill the Shieldred.
All right. So Eric, very smartly here, is porting the Ancient Tomb Doom. That means if Eric wants to go for it, he has to fire off now and call. And Eric says, I have it. Rest in peace. Boom. Get rid of that Daze Voidwalker. We're going to helm and actually resolve it like normal, but doesn't matter because Cage is in play.
Because the Cage. And he would have normally hit the Thalia, but the Cage is in play. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah. We're going to get a judge call involved in this one. What a actual wild round we have here in round number 8 of the NRG in Illinois. If you're liking this, make sure to click that follow button. We got a bunch of you in chat, and we don't want you to miss any of the Paper Magic. Paper Magic is one of the best ways to watch it. We get to see the expressions like this, and we get to do more things when we have more followers. So thank you all so much for supporting the stream like that. This time, chat, we're seeing we had we had to get there, but I'll say this. I think there's been a lot of, flustered plays happening, but Eric doing a great job there of surveying the battlefield and being like, how can I win? And seeing the port the Ancient Tomb to force Chris to go for it. was a very good way to sort of get out of this game and start playing a real one. And, Eric might just be stealing this game once we're done resolving everything.
Do you think that Eric had this exact board state in mind when they brought in Grafdigger's Cage of this fair Helm of Obedience plan? It's just too good. We got to get it out of here.
Yes, indeed. I also forgot that Helm dies when you use it, because normally when Helm gets activated,
I also forgot that.
Yeah.
Usually the game just ends.
Yeah, it's over. And this is actually really huge, because now if you're Eric, you have Yorion in exile. Chris, as long as he doesn't draw an Orcish Bowmaster, you're sitting pretty, because you have Mother of Runes not only to block if need be, but protect the Skyclave apparition, which would trade with the Orc, meaning you only push 1 damage. Chris is in real trouble here.
So chat's actually bringing up a good point. We're not sure if the Helm should actually die, because we're not positive. I mean, it's a time shift match. There's nothing we can do anyways, but we're not sure if the Helm, if the creature doesn't enter the battlefield, do you actually sacrifice it? Because it says target opponent mills a card, then repeats the process until a creature card or X cards have been put into the graveyard. If one or more creature cards were put into the graveyard, sacrifice Helm and put one of them onto the battlefield. Oh, I don't know. I
think it does sacrifice, and the reason is because Haha Toast in chat said it, and they said it very confidently, and so I'm gonna trust anyone.
Who even knows at this point?
Yeah. Also, it be what it be.
This has been a crazy match, Mason. I don't know about you, but this has been a wild ride.
I am very much awake right now watching this, and Chris is just slamming. I mean, if you're Eric, you just take this block protection and hope that the Bowmaster wasn't drawn. And Eric now has the board stable, and we're very awkward where the Yorion can flicker the Skyclave. But
guess what, Mason?
What?
Eric is at 2.
Eric's at 2?
You know where I'm going with this, right?
Shieldred.
That's not a Shieldred. No! I wanted to see it so bad.
God, I would have so much egg on my face, but instead, Menace is basically unblockable, and the Yorion has so much mana. All right, Eric shook his head, yes. Maybe a recruitment of the guard. Oh, Council's Judgment.
Wow.
I would suggest voting Grief there, Chris, otherwise things are going to go poorly for you. You're going to get a draw for the turn, 4 mana, slams Helm, passes
Every
the
time
turn.
he taps 4 mana, I'm seeing the Shieldred in my head, Mason. I'm looking at it. I can visualize it.
Yeah, I need Eric to start porting so that I do not have egg on my face so the Shieldred wins the game. Yeah. As we do see a tapping of Rashawn's port at the start.
Dothy still wins.
Dothy does still win. And we would need to have a Solitude in hand. It's basically the same spot as before.
Yeah. We got plan here
big
for
draw
Eric.
From Eric.
Yeah, big draw step.
Eric can maybe attack for 2. I guess flickering is a little dangerous, but you can just get rid of the Helm, right? If you're willing to let.
Oh, okay. Wait, it just makes a food. Right, it just says destroy all creatures to power 3 or greater, and then you make a food for each creature you control. Okay. I'm wondering if you want to just fire off the Yorion now to be able to blink the Skyclave and not die to a Voidwalker on top. What?
He had flash opposition agent, so the food is super clutch.
Oh.
If we had just held that, we might lose here, but instead Eric saw the line.
Oh my god, this is insane. What is this game? This is an unbelievable game. Okay, so it looks like we're going to finally cast the Yorion. I was a little bit skeptical of why we didn't do that last turn to be able to blink the Skyclave and kill the Helm, because you would still be dead. We're not blinking the Skyclave. Okay. Oh my god, he drew Voidwalker. No way.
And that is the combo. Oh my goodness.
Oh my
Chris Smith with the craziest round of Legacy I have ever seen. Congratulations on making top 8. Oh my goodness. What a wild round, Devin.
What was that game, Mason? There is just that was unbelievable. I have no words after that. I am literally speechless. But we are going to be we're going to have our top 8 very, very shortly.
Yeah, we're gonna have our top 8 in just 1 minute. So click that follow button, that way you don't miss anything. We're gonna have players like Chris Smith and many others in our top 8, and we're gonna be right back. We're about to start the top 8, so give us 1 second here.